Today, we'll be reviewing a show called Whiting Wongs. This is a suggestion from Doug. We have both listened separately. We have not discussed it with each other beforehand. I want to get started, but I want to say this first. I'm in a good mood today. I have a letter from Podcast Hitman that came into our P.O. box that I'm going to read at the end of the show today. So stick around for that. We're going to learn some stuff about what Matt Lewinsky's up to.
Coming up later.
That's a little tease for you. We got weather on the nines. Yeah. We got traffic, and we're talking about Podcast Hitman's letter to me. But first, we got to talk about Whiting Wongs, a show hosted by Dan Harmon and Jessica Gao. And so this is like, I guess, Dan Harmon, because he's in Hollywood, he feels ashamed that he's like a white guy. I mean, he explains it here.
I have shame. That's why I do this podcast, because I have shame. So you play on my shame. It's like, it's not ironic. There's nothing like, it's like, oh, listen to that white guy. He's so stupid. He doesn't understand what he's talking about. It's like, it makes me ashamed of myself. So what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm the guy that's so ashamed of himself. He started this podcast with his friend. Like, do you want me to like be so fucking evolved that I'm just like on top of that? Also like, yeah, I'm such an idiot and so fucking racist and ignorant. Like I'm already trying to do that.
Good stuff, Dan. Hilarious. What a weird way to start a podcast, to be like, all right, well, you know what? I got all this shame for being a white guy, so I'm going to do this podcast to try to make up for that. Okay. I'm also a white guy, Dan. Should I be ashamed? Should I be ashamed to listen to the show? Or I'm not even sure how any of this works. Doug, please help me out.
So I know I'm an outlier in this. I didn't know who Dan Harmon was.
Okay.
I put a post up on our Patreon and asked which show I should bring to this episode. And the cover art for this featured a caricature of a Chinese person, which I thought was funny.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I went with. It was Jimmy Smits is the one that suggested it. So
thanks, Jimmy.
I hate you, Jimmy Smits. But yeah, so this time I am a little more prepared. I know which clip for me summarizes the show.
Great.
But I challenge both of you. It's a long clip. I apologize, but I challenge both of you to summarize it when it is done. Number 11.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'll listen closely.
So anyways, like, but is that this podcast isn't about that? However, we're sitting here
with it fresh on our minds.
Yeah. And there is, so it's worth addressing just to say, look, we're two people drinking vodka and kind of just goofing around verbally about the role of screenwriters in these turbulent times. I guess it doesn't matter. Well, why are you listening if you're judging? But I also just want to say, like, again, I hate to say I told you so, but like the whoever smelt it, dealt it, millennial, let's not talk about people like they're different. Let's just wait for people to sound awkward and then point at them and scream at them until they get fired or whatever. It's a methodology that you can say it worked or didn't work, but in any case, working or not working now has us here.
I have no idea what just happened.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I have no idea. I'll say this, because it's interesting you didn't know who Dan Harmon was. Dan Harmon is brilliant, but he sounds like a moron.
Yeah.
Every time he talks, I'm like, Jesus, dude, what are you trying to say?
He doesn't even know.
No.
So I like I said, I didn't know who he was. Now I know that he's the co-creator of Rick and Morty and the creator of Community.
Yeah.
And I have not seen an episode of either one of those shows.
Oh.
So the only view I have of him is my preparation for this show. And I would suggest that he is not a genius. I would suggest that he is a fucking retard and he has nothing to contribute as far as comedy goes.
If I only knew Dan from this show, I would agree with you 100%, but you should watch Rick and Morty. It's an amazing show. So the way this show starts off, Jessica is very angry.
Okay, I've noticed that for the last few episodes, I've been very angry and coming in hot, and guess what? Today is no different.
And I've been coming in pretty drunk, and you know what? I'm breaking my record. I'm even drunker.
Here's a new theme song.
All right, we're off to a good start. We got an angry Asian woman and a drunk white guy going to talk about race. This is going to go great. I can't wait. So the big news, there's two big topics on the episode I listened to. The first one is that Jessica decided to submit the 23andMe, where you find out what your genetic makeup is as far as nationalities.
I got my 23andMe results, and I have not opened them yet because I wanted to share with...
Can I guess? You gotta be at least 1% Nazi.
Pretty good line. Dan does have some good lines from time to time. I thought that was pretty funny. I wasn't expecting that. So she's going to go on and talk about her results.
70% Chinese, 10% Korean.
Oh.
Whoa. Okay, I'm 10.9% Korean, 7.5 Manchurian and Mongolian, 0.5% Japanese, and then 10% broadly East Asian.
Well, the Asian woman, it has all these different Asian countries.
I did not see that coming.
I know. I was also shocked by that. Doug, you want to hear my 23andMe results? German, Dutch, English. I know, isn't that crazy?
At least 1% Nazi.
All right. So this I found to be a little bit weird because I don't know. I think that she doesn't like Koreans. I think she's like turned off by the fact that she's 10% Korean.
But
I have to say I'm really surprised that I've got 10% Korean.
yeah, so what is there an impact here? Because when I found out I had not a lick of Irish in me, it changed me.
So I think that Jessica's a racist. I'm pretty sure, based on what I've listened to so far. And I will throw this out there. Chinese people are about the racist people, the most racist people on earth. Like, they literally have to change movie posters and take the black guys out in order to sell movies in China. This is a true thing. Chinese people hate black people. And this one seems to hate Koreans for some reason, too, which is, I don't know what the point of that is. It's kind of weird. But she explains that she really thought she was 100% Chinese.
Whoa! I seriously would have bet money that I was going to be 99% Chinese.
Okay. So that's very exciting. And of course, Dan is like me. Dan's going, well, I mean, none of this is surprising to me. Like, what do you mean?
Is there an analogy between that and European? Like, is the analogy like Italian versus French? Or
I like that. He's like, all right, for us white guys, what are you talking about with Korea and China and Japan? Is that like French and Italian? Because those are the countries I understand. Yes.
Right. You're either black, brown, white, or yellow. Right. And you're in the yellow category. That's all we care about. We don't. Right. I don't care what percentage of yellow you are.
100%, apparently, is the percentage. All right. Doug, what did you pick up on from this episode that you listened to?
So they were throwing around the Nazi. Dan throws around Nazi a lot.
Okay.
The episode that I listened to, it's really weird. They record it in October, I think, and then release it like 3 months later. So my clip 4, I think, explains this, but they started recording it right after Charlottesville happened.
Okay.
But they didn't release it until months later.
Smart. You always want to have topical conversations that get released months later.
So as we're recording this, not as it's airing, like the Charlottesville thing just went down.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this in the year 2020 or something,
which is the year it's going to be released finally.
Right.
Okay.
So they spend the podcast is supposed to be about writers in Hollywood and racism. And they spend a solid 20 minutes dissecting Charlottesville, and it's just Nazi. So number 6 is Dan giving a brief explanation of Charlottesville, and then we'll get into that.
All right, get ready to laugh, everybody. Dan Harmon, this guy co-created Rick and Morty. This is going to be great.
They were removing the statue of Robert E. Lee, so Nazis showed up.
Yeah.
So people that don't like Nazis showed up. The Nazis had a permit.
Okay.
No.
What do you think that the Nazis, when they went to City Hall, got the permit for?
I think I don't think that Nazis care about Robert E. Lee. I'm confused about this whole thing. Yes. Were Nazis in the Civil War? I don't remember that.
I don't think Nazis cared about Robert E. Lee. I don't think Nazis go get permits for anything. They fucking blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
Good point.
They just goose step their way in and do whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So number 7 explains what they got the permit
Okay,
for.
good. Thank you.
The people that don't like Nazis didn't have a permit to not like Nazis. The Nazis were, I think, initially just permitted to beat people while the police watched.
Dan's got this all figured out, doesn't he? Now, so I learned from our president at that time that there were good people on both sides. I don't know if you do that, Doug, but
Yes,
that's what I was told.
Unrelated to this, I also learned that there were some bad hombres elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think so far we're accurate on this one. All right. Well, Dan summed that up well, I guess.
Yeah. Although he's painting Nazis in a negative light. But,
I won't stand for that, WATP.
But here's clip 8 is when I decided that I did not like Dan Harmon.
Okay.
Like, I mean, this is getting into politics. Like, look, I'm a fucking liberal. I don't like Nazis. I don't even care if I spread a lie that's not true. Fuck you. You're a Nazi. Whatever.
That's bizarre. That's a little weird.
they're just throwing that word around like cuck.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, do you even know what that means?
So I don't know if now's the right time or not, but I sent you a video and said it was for today's.
I forgot about that. Let me pull that up in my email here. I did a bad
Okay,
job
so
prepping.
while you're doing that, I'm going to pepper or pre everybody for it. So if you're getting called a Nazi by somebody, and it happens to be the guy that created this video that you're going to play, I want you to know if the word Nazi loses its sting.
Okay. I mean, it's already kind of lost its sting with me, but let's see what Dan has to say here.
Hi, I'm Dan Harmon. You're about to watch my controversial new pilot, Daryl. Now, I have to warn you, I originally made it with Showtime for their audience because it's a little groundbreaking for normal people to handle. But maybe you'll surprise me. Good luck.
Just stop it when you get uncomfortable.
Doctor, my wife just had a baby, and I had this dream last night where I was a fish, and I looked up and I saw myself on the boat.
Well, Admiral, our time is up. I think the best thing for you to do would be to go home, tuck that baby in, and get yourself a good night's sleep.
Okay, thanks a lot, Doctor.
No, Admiral, thank you.
All right, it's bedtime.
Thank you for being such a good patient,
Sleep tight, okay?
for taking all the sleeping pills I prescribed to you, so that later tonight, when I'm crawling in your window, I can count on you to sleep like a baby.
What the fuck?
Well, I do everything but sleep with yours.
All right, I might tap out at this point. So what we just saw...
That's where I made it to.
What we just saw was Dan Harmon's character, Daryl, just crawled into the window. Now, the baby is a doll, thank God. But he just pulled his pants out. He saw his entire bare ass. Yeah. And it looks like he's going to, I don't know, missionary style.
He's trying to make his character relatable.
Jesus Christ, Doug.
So when that is the person... When that is the person that's calling, he's in my face calling me a Nazi.
Yeah.
I'm all right with it, I think.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something there.
Who's that old guy over there? Uncle Paul, with the creepy old guy stare. Uncle Paul, and now he's coming over here, slowly limping down the hall. It's too late now, 'cause here comes Uncle Paul.
Let me show you how to make a big boy love you.
Lick, lick, lick my balls.
I see what you did there. Now, Doug, is there a payoff to this video? I don't think we're going to get to it, but maybe there's something that's redeeming about
I don't want
it.
to see that payoff. Jesus.
No. The what I wanted to do is, because I know that when I came on here and said that Dan Harmon was an untalented piece of shit, that I'm going to get a bunch of fucking hate for it. Because there's a bunch of Rick and Morty fans and Community fans.
Sure.
I don't give a fuck. If this is what this guy does, I win. I don't give a fuck.
Fair enough.
All right. I mean, it's art, so you can't critique it too much. He's not actually raping a baby, Doug. Just throwing it out there. He goes, okay, you say so. All right. If he were, I don't think he'd have the camera set up and the lighting the way that it is. So I want to get into the second part of the conversation.
I want to continue hearing you defend this video. I think we can.
I know.
I'm defending it. I mean, it's disturbing. You know what's weird, Doug, is hosting the Creep Off has changed my entire perspective on humanity. So, like, nothing freaks me out anymore because people are fucking creeps. So when I see shit like that, like I 4 years ago, I'd be like, this is insane. What are they doing? And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I know all about this.
I can do this show from my apartment, right? Is that cool? Next week?
Nope. You got to be here in studio with me.
Okay.
All right. So this is the other topic that they want to go into. Not they. Jessica wants to get into.
All right. The heavier thing I want to talk about is Apu and The Simpsons. So
let her rip.
Think you'll come again.
All right. So this is the big topic of discussion right now is Apu. And I guess there was a documentary that came out that talked about how racist that character is and how terrible it is. And she's wildly offended by it. And so she starts talking like Dan Harmon. I don't know if this is contagious or what the deal is here.
So, today's Monday. Sorry to break the magic, but we record on Mondays.
I don't know if that's supposed to be endearing, because that's also the way that Justin Roiland does, like, the characters with all the stuttering and stammering and stuff like that. I guess that's a style of comedy that I'm not aware of. I don't know. I think that's because Rick's usually drunk, but I don't know.
Well, so is Dan and maybe Jessica.
Yeah, probably. All right, let's get into it here, Doug. I don't know if you're a fan of Apu or The Simpsons. Are you familiar with this matter?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see what the problem is here.
And last night, the newest episode of The Simpsons really, really fucking shit the bed on the whole situation. They essentially doubled down on being tone deaf, out of touch, clueless old white guys. So there is a great, fantastic article, NPR article written by Linda Holmes about it. I really, really recommend everybody go and read this.
First off, you lost me at there's a great NPR article about this. I doubt it. And also, lighten up. It's a fucking cartoon. All right. I mean, to get this offended over a fucking cartoon character, and I don't know if you're aware of this. Some people might not be, but The Simpsons, they have a lot of like characters that are kind of stereotypes.
Yeah.
Groundskeeper Willie.
Right.
And Luigi, the guy who makes pizza, they call him a greaseball. It's like they act like Apu is the only fucking stereotype on the show. There's tons of stereotypes. That's the joke.
Every single one.
Right, but hasn't Apu been trying to sell beef jerky for 20 plus fucking years?
Yes. Yeah, but now it's a problem, of course. And so, this is the offensive thing that The Simpsons did. They got this NPR article written, and it got Jessica really upset.
And then it gets worse. After Marge asks what she's supposed to do, Lisa looks directly at the camera. It's hard to say, she says. Something that started decades ago and was applauded and inoffensive is now politically incorrect. What can you do? And she looks at a framed photo next to her bed of Apu, which is signed, "Don't have a cow, Apu." Marge puts a hand on her shoulder and says, "Some things will be dealt with at a later date." If at all, Lisa responds. Both look blankly at the audience.
You need to leave.
She's appalled by this scene in The Simpsons.
Tough crowd.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking ridiculous. So,
yeah. And
this
she's
conversation
talking about, like, Lisa and Marge are real people.
Right.
Yeah, she looks right at the camera.
Can you believe
has
that?
Has the audacity to, like...
They break down the fourth wall.
Yeah, it wasn't spontaneous, you know.
Well, that's what she's upset about more than anything else, because this conversation goes on for like 45 minutes about how offensive this is. And at first, I get really annoyed, Doug. I've talked about this before. These shows where everyone just agrees with each other are annoying. You know, I don't need everyone on there to be like, yeah, I know, that is offensive. Yeah, like, one person.
I would tend to agree, but I don't want to at this juncture.
Am I right about that, Doug? You agree, right?
In her case, I think what she does, I don't have a good example of it to play for you, but I know that several times when he was caught in his stuttering and stammering, she would just start agreeing, and I think she was just trying to get him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, wait, wrap it up, buddy.
Okay. I thought your pause.
No, my pause was to decide how I want to say "fuck you" to The Simpsons.
All right, Jessica, you've lost me. You want to say fuck you to The Simpsons? It's a cartoon show. You can watch it or not watch it. You can like it or not like it.
And
but it's not trying to ruin your life.
This has been covered, but back to the stereotypes things. Apu was one of the more likable stereotypes when you look at the show.
Hardworking, successful, family man, like all of those things. Yeah, like everyone loves him. Yeah. It's one of those weird things where it's like they're not shitting on him like they do Groundskeeper Willie. He's always drunk and fucking around and fucking off.
Trying to kill you.
Yeah, why aren't Scottish people go, this is fucking insane? They're probably too drunk.
Having a good time with it.
Yeah, they're drinking too much to be appalled by it, but... It's so fucking stupid, this whole thing. And Dana Gould, if you know who that is. I'm very familiar with Dana Gould. He was a writer on The Simpsons for a long time. Very liberal guy. He used to be on Adam Carolla all the time. He's not anymore because Adam Carolla had the audacity to think for himself. And so she has an issue with him.
And in it, at one point, Hari Kondabolu interviews Dana Gould, who wrote on The Simpsons for several years, and it's like a very respected writer. But his answers were so tone deaf and so like this was a guy who was so not aware, because he talks about how he does that very typical white man writer thing where he says, well, it's the funniest thing. Like, the funniest joke always wins, blah, blah. But he never stops to think, what's behind that statement is this is somebody who didn't stop to think, who is it funniest to? Because guess what? Apu is not the funniest thing to Indian Americans. It's not the funniest thing to most people of color. Like, when you say it's the funniest thing, you mean it's the funniest thing to white guys.
Talk about retarded.
Jessica, I don't know if she realized she's being actively racist. Yeah. I mean, she's like, oh, well, that's like what white guys say. Like, well, what does that have to do with anything? What is this?
I would challenge her in that statement, in that Indian guys probably don't find Apu funny. They just think, I'm glad that we're being represented on this show. And then all the other people of color, they think it's funny.
Correct. And I want to point this out. Like, Dave Chappelle has a lot of jokes about white people stereotypes that are funny. It's comedy. You don't have to take it so seriously. You can laugh at yourself. You can laugh at whatever. This idea.
I've been seeing and I love it.
This idea that Apu is offensive to 1.2 billion Indian people is fucking insane.
It would be different if there was a character on The Simpsons that was Korean and she just ran around the neighborhood eating people's dogs. I could understand if she was to get upset by that.
Oh, you haven't seen season 24 because that's one of the main subplots.
That's all it's about, yeah.
That's all that's going on. All right, we'll get back to the Simpsons talk, but I want to hand it over to you, Doug, to see what else you picked up on.
So earlier you touched on the way that Dan talks.
Yeah.
So I would like you to play my clip number 2. This is the intro to the show.
Here. Yeah, I'm Dan Harmon, and this is Jessica Gao.
Okay, so that was after I edited it for about 15 minutes. Clip number 1 is how it went out on air.
Okay.
Here. I'm Dan Harmon, and this is Jessica Gao.
Fuck. This is what I mean. Like, he sounds like an idiot. He sounds like a total idiot. I know he's not. I think he's a brilliant storyteller and comedic writer, but that sounds dumb.
I think what it is he probably has a brain that moves faster than his mouth. So when he's writing, he can get everything out and formulate it. He just shouldn't have a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I see. I don't like that excuse because, like, I've heard Stuttering John say that too. Like, people who stutter, they're like, "Well, I'm just too smart." Like, well, no, I don't think that's what it is. My brain just moves so quickly.
I'm so smart, I can't make a point.
Yeah, I know. It's like I don't know about that, but you might be right, Doug. I don't know.
Well, but to go against what I just said,
yeah, please.
They record it and 3 months later put it out. They could edit it. I mean, what took me 15 minutes could take somebody else 3.
Right? No shit. And also, I've edited out stutters before on my show. The waveform, you can tell. You can look at it and be like, oh, that person said I 5 times in a row. I'll just take out 4 of them.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that difficult to do.
You learned what a lip smack looks like.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Thanks, Andy, for teaching me what a lip smack looks like. Fucking trucker Andy. It's getting real personal.
Go with Clip 22 is another example of his speaking.
Pretty simple sometimes to just go, get a load of this guy. The rules of thumb, including like the longer they talk, the less you talk.
Yeah, there was a show called, I think it was called Harmon. He had a podcast for a long time, and Andy was trying to get me into it. He's like, "Oh, you gotta check out Harmon." So I listened to it. I can't listen to this guy talk.
Yeah,
it's so annoying. Spit it out,
please.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of shitty podcasts because of you.
Yep.
And this one was probably the hardest for me to get through.
Interesting. All right. Well,
I between his speaking and then what they were saying, I fundamentally disagree with. And then on top of that, neither one of them could actually get to a point. It just.
Well, this is an example of them kind of agreeing with each other over nonsense.
You know what? It's like Simpsons, like, have the fucking balls to say we only care about white people. Because that's really what that's saying. That's what this episode says. That's what that scene says. It's really saying, we think this is funny. We're white dudes. This is funny to white people, and that's who we care. That's the audience we care about.
Yeah, I mean,
This is ironic because the Simpsons are yellow.
Yeah, I know.
Yellow on yellow crime here.
It's the most liberal people in the world who write for the Simpsons. They're not white supremacists or whatever the fuck they think is going on here. It's so insane what she's saying. And for Dan to be like, yeah, I would immediately be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
that's retarded.
Explain yourself.
Yeah. So first she's trying to say that the Apu character is a white supremacist, or I don't even know what she's trying to say. I guess that's fucking Nazism. Who knows what she's trying to say? But then she changes the argument here.
When we get dragged down into that level of argument, it's like no one's ever going to win. It becomes anecdotal. Yeah. It's not, and I'm not saying comedy's about science. I just mean that who cares if the comedy rule should be. Is it boring now? Is it easy now? Is it, should we?
Oh, okay. So Dan finally starts pushing back, and he goes, "Well, listen, there's no rules to comedy. If people think it's funny, it's funny. That's what it is." And thank you, Dan, for saying that. I was waiting for him to finally talk some sense to her. And then she changes it to, "Yeah, but it's hack." Okay. So you're offended by hack comedy? I mean, I am. Tom Myers offends the shit out of me, but I'm not. NPR's not writing articles about Tom Myers stand-up.
Yeah, maybe they should.
maybe they have. I haven't done a lot of Google searching on that, to be honest with you. So, Doug, you started the show by playing a clip that was about 63 seconds that I couldn't make heads or tails of. I didn't know what the fuck Dan was talking about. I have a similar clip. This is a lot shorter. But please listen closely. I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at Discord. I'm looking at YouTube. Someone please explain to me what he's trying to say here.
If it's true that someone problematizing a poo is in itself comedically meta problematic, if it's true that problematization is anathema to comedy because it's so unfun, prove it.
That doesn't make any sense, Rick.
What the fuck did he just say? I've never heard the word problematizing or problematization before. I don't think those are words.
Yeah, he's fucking with us.
He might be. If he said that to me on my show, I wouldn't be able to argue with him. I'm like, well, yeah. Okay,
I'd just be laughing.
Good point.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that.
Good points here.
Yeah. I can't argue with that one, Dan. You got me. What the fuck was that? It reminds me of when I was younger. I used to go to this place called Stratford, Ontario in Canada. My parents were big fans of Shakespeare. So I'd go and we'd watch Shakespeare plays. That was our summer vacation every year. And it might as well be Italian. I have no idea what they're saying. That style of English does not compute to me. It's not English. That's kind of like what Dan was doing just now. I'm just like, those are words. It sounds like English. I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah.
But it's something. Okay. This next clip I want to play. This is Dan finally making some points because Jessica is saying that the Simpsons should just go away. She wants them to be done.
He's like a side character.
But wait, are we really talking about taking Apu out of The Simpsons? Because then it becomes like the gun control debate. It's like are we? It becomes easy to argue against removing Apu.
First of all, I mean, I'm a little biased because I think The Simpsons just needs to has really, really run its course.
It's an easy thing to say about Saturday Night Live or Simpsons or anything.
I don't think this.
Why do we?
I don't
care?
think the same thing of Saturday Night Live. I definitely think the same thing.
Oh well, fuck you. Saturday Night Live needs to die by fire. Like this thing is institutional comedy.
What's most heartbreaking about all of this is the clear fundamental lack of empathy on the part of the Simpsons writers. It's insane the lack of empathy they have for people who don't look like them.
You know what I'm upset about? This Jessica woman, who's 70% Chinese, is speaking English, which is our language. Yeah. I mean,
crossing the line, if you ask me.
This is cultural appropriation, and I won't stand for it. It sounds like English is her first language, too. Yeah, I know. Not cool, Jessica. Not fucking cool. I love that Dan made the point. He's like, okay, I mean, it's easy to say that you don't like the show anymore and it's jumped the shark, but still people watch it. You know, SNL sucks, but it's still on TV. You don't have to watch it. It's fine. She's like, no, it has to go away now.
Any of this has to do with it being their number one competition? Like, to me, it seems like there's probably a correlation.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that. You're right. This is peak Rick and Morty. This is going back to like 2018 when this was all going down. But Dan's actually, he's the one standing up for it, but she does write on Rick and Morty. She is one of the writers on there, which I lose some respect for that show based on that. By the way, Amish Space Force actually did translate that clip that I played where I couldn't understand what they were saying. He says he's trying to say that you can put your boots in the oven, but that don't make them biscuits. Got it.
Finally, someone's making some sense around here. Jesus.
Some sense.
Maybe we could just put a pause on recording the rest of this episode, send him over an episode, and he can transcribe it and translate it.
Yes.
Send it back, and then we can speak on that.
That would be great. Yeah. What Dan's trying to say is white guys be crazy. Oh, okay.
And women be shopping.
Now I get it. Okay. So let's see what else Jessica has to say about the Simpsons.
Apparently there's a character named Dr. Wong on Rick and Morty. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's paid by Susan Sarandon.
Yep.
Okay, so play my clip number 23.
All right. Be happy to.
Dr. Wong is a conscious choice. Like, I made her an Asian woman because I wanted to give an Asian actor a role, and I wanted Rick and Morty to have an Asian character for once.
Wait, am I wrong about that? I thought it was Susan Sarandon who played Dr. Wong.
That's in the credits.
Oh, hold on a second. Now I got to look this up.
Yeah. I guess the Asian woman didn't want the job.
Let me just do a quick... yeah, it is Susan Sarandon. Is Susan Sarandon Asian?
Let's lay off the Asians.
What is going on right now, Doug? I'm wildly confused. I'm actually more informed than usual, and I'm wildly confused. I wish I didn't know what was going on. All right. Well, let me get back to this real quick because she has some things to say about the writers of The Simpsons.
That's the problem, is that what the Simpsons are saying is what we dinosaurs think are funny is infinitely more important than if it hurts you as a human being.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, The Simpsons' only job is to be funny. Yes. That's the only thing they're trying to do. They're not going to solve racism.
No.
It's a cartoon show. They're not trying to solve racism on this show, Jessica.
We fell in love with The Simpsons because they roasted our own culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they made fun of families.
Did you notice that the white guy father's an idiot? Yeah. Did you pick up on that nuance?
He's an idiot.
Fucking idiot. Fucking piazza. I can't help but do that now every time I hear that. It's really a problem.
In my research for this episode, I believe what I read is that the other co-founder of Rick and Morty, what's his name?
Justin Roiland, yeah.
Okay, so he is alleged to be on the flight logs to Epstein Island, and then Dan Harmon is, of course, the baby fucker that we played that video of.
Yep.
I also read that there was a lot of incestuous undertones in Rick and Morty. Is that true?
I guess Summer.
The mom is fucking herself.
Oh yeah, Oh my bad. How did I forget about that? How did I forget about season 6? Yeah, the mom fucks herself.
It's
a lot.
Yeah, I don't know about the incest thing.
So I guess there's that.
I don't necessarily trust where I was getting my information from, because it's obviously slanted. But
yeah,
it
Whoa,
just
are you
seems
talking
odd.
about Jessica right now? That's offensive. I'm offended for you, Jessica. That was inappropriate. Sorry, keep going.
No, that's fine.
All right. Guys, I want to present to you brilliant comedy writer Dan Harmon.
I am trying to achieve fucking empathy for the dark side that I represent, and fuck you. You're welcome, and stick it up your ass. I fucking hate you.
All right, Dan. Good stuff. Good jokes there, buddy. Dan hates himself so much for being a white guy. And I guess this is what Hollywood does to people, is they make you feel like you're a piece of shit for achieving things and being successful. Unless you're a minority, then it's great. And so Jessica, as we mentioned, is appalled by this response that The Simpsons had to that documentary, because the way they addressed it was just like, yeah, some things are now offensive that weren't offensive, and, get over it. Is basically what The Simpsons said on their episode.
Yeah,
The
it's
Simpsons responded to this guy's documentary and with
wah, fuck you.
With a very measured wah, fuck you. It's not even an impulsive one.
It was
they broke it in a story room.
Yes, totally. It was a thought out wah, fuck you. That's the part that really, really gets to me, is knowing, as a writer, knowing how many fucking levels that went through, and the fact that the fucking network didn't say anything or was overruled, that no one in that dozens upon dozens of people went through several weeks of this for that to go through and air on television.
Now, do you want me to play the devil's advocate?
Yes,
please,
because Jessica's out of her mind. So at this time, Doug, I'll let you know what happens. Dan goes, maybe I should actually watch this thing that you just told me about before critiquing it, because he even says, he goes, if someone was on a podcast talking about Rick and Morty and they hadn't even seen the show, I'd be kind of pissed about that. Maybe I should actually sit down and watch
Rick
this.
and Morty. That show sucks.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I should sit down and watch this thing before I just go on and on about it. So then he actually watches the scene that Jessica's complaining about, and they come back.
They're not saying that. They're saying we're not going to address it. Don't have a cow. It literally says don't have a cow signed Apu on that fucking framed picture.
It's a reference to the problematic. They're shining a flashlight on the problematic.
Yeah, and they're saying we don't care.
No,
that's the problem.
That's where I disagree with you. Remember that flowchart thing that we do where we analyze where we disconnect, I when I saw that with my white eyeballs.
You okay, but you also saw a 12-second clip and not the entire episode.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course. But I think it's because we can't pause the podcast.
But again, you're also coming at it as an older white writer.
Yes, and I'm saying my point of view is there is another way to come on.
Jessica is not just a racist, but an ageist as well.
Yeah.
So because Dan is mid-40s and a white guy, he's not even allowed to speak on the topic.
Oh, and
if he has the wrong opinion.
He's a guy. It's the patriarchy.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, he's doing everything wrong. This fucking guy. Jessica, what the fuck is wrong with you? She can really go get fucked.
I think he touched on it, that she's not going to be able to take in the whole scene all at once. She can only see a third of the screen.
And you know what, Doug? Since you brought that up, I want to also point out Jessica's fat. She's a fat woman, and she married a white guy. She hates white people. She married a white guy. She hates them. She hates our culture. She loves Chinese people who are all racist and put Muslims in slave camps. She's fine with all that. I don't hear her critiquing China, but she's critiquing Hollywood, which these are the most liberal people on the fucking face of the earth.
So she just might be miserable.
She is miserable. She sucks.
Is she one of those noodle slurpers you were talking about last week?
By the way, I want to point something out. Someone called me out in our subreddit, and I went, "Oh my god, I'm an idiot." Pho is Vietnamese, not Korean.
Oh yeah.
I know these Koreans at the pho restaurant. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oops. That was dumb. That was dumb of me, Doug. Thanks for reminding me.
He's a fucking idiot.
Noodle slurpers. All right, Doug, what else did you pick up on, buddy?
Number 17. So this is Dan attempting to tell Jessica about one of the most widely accepted, funniest things ever to come out of the internet.
Okay.
Cody listens to this.
He doesn't get off to a good start.
Okay.
Cody listens to this podcast, Reply All, which is just about internet culture. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about the dog. What is the account that rates dogs? Dog rates. We rate dogs or dog.
What?
Fuck, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. This is not going well so far.
All right, so Mumblemouth finally gets around to telling his story. Number 18 is him picking back up and talking about what is widely agreed is one of the funniest things on the internet.
But it always gives every dog an 11 to 14 rating, like out of 1 to 10. Like it's just like every dog gets an 11 or a 12 and there was a famous exchange where a guy wrote to them and said like, your rating system is bullshit. Like at least admit that it's bullshit. And it's very serious and very really trying to take.
Yeah, he went there for a serious dog rating system.
And it was widely agreed that probably one of the funniest things in the last 10 years of the internet was the dog rating account responding to the guy saying like, they're good dogs, Brent. Something like that.
All right. Sounded like he communicated a point just now.
I was not expecting that.
I know. I was like, oh, I actually am following this. Interesting.
Yeah, he communicated a point, but if that is what is widely accepted, I think the guy that broke the glass jar in his butthole is funnier than this.
I agree.
Yeah, Dan's not great on podcasts. Let me just explain how dumb Jessica is.
But you're saying this as if you're saying this as if The Simpsons without a poo wouldn't be The Simpsons anymore.
No, that's what. How did you ever get that?
Because
that's crazy. No, that's absolutely. I can't believe you heard that. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what they're saying.
What are you saying?
I mean, Dan's argument for all of this is like, well, it's comedy. Mm-hmm. And, they're not trying to solve the world's problems. It's a comedy show.
Do you want to watch a cartoon where everyone gets along?
Right.
And does chores?
It's so stupid, right.
Come on.
So anyway, so she tries to change the argument like, oh, well, you think that Apu is the central character of The Simpsons? No one's saying that.
Nobody ever said
No one has ever fucking said that. By the way, going back to the Italian guy, do you know what his last name is?
No.
Luigi Risotto.
Hungry.
I didn't know that. I had to look it up. I'm hungry. I had to look that up. I used to do a show with a guy named Ricotta. Huh.
Here comes the grease ball.
I bring you the pizza. Why you got to make it the fun? All right. Let's find out. Doug's not amused. He's not as big of a Simpsons fan as we are. Let's find out how white the writers are on The Simpsons.
How white do you think The Simpsons writers' room is?
I'm sure it's as white as the driven snow.
Yeah.
But wait, what does that imply? That if there's a black man in the Simpsons writers' room, that his job is to jump up on the table and go like,
this is where we get into who do they care about and who is this for?
Damn it. He was about to say something funny.
I know. And she had to interrupt.
Finally.
She had to interrupt and explain, no, white people are all about spreading white supremacy all the time. So, well, that's not actually true. And how white is Denmark? Who gives a shit? Like, there's white people. I'm sorry, Jessica. It's kind of the people who founded this country. I'm sorry that's what happened. I apologize. Doug, you got a lot of clips here. Let's hit some of the main points.
All right, we will. So you reference quite a bit that you think that Dan is a comedic genius.
Well, I love Rick and Morty.
Clip number 19 is him explaining what comedy is.
Oh, good.
Comedy sometimes is actually like just lateral fucking like straight manning someone who is putting so much energy into the vaudeville act of your exchange. Somebody climbs up on stage and is wearing a gorilla costume and they're dancing and spinning and jumping and frothing.
Is he talking about that one guy in the Simpsons writers' room again?
Slinging bananas.
The funniest thing to do probably isn't a bigger gorilla costume, a tappier dance. It's probably just to say something like,
Right.
Got milk? I don't know.
Yeah.
A tappier dance is kind of funny. Yeah. I like that. Doug's trying to convince me that I don't like Dan Harmon, but it's not working on that clip. I enjoyed that.
So the last part of the episode that I listened to, they started getting in talking about trolling, people trolling, and number 20 is Dan mumbling his way into figuring out why people troll.
What about the trolls?
The higher you rise above it, the more Jack the Ripper these like trolling attempts are going to be. Like they're never going to stop. There's never going to be a high point where you're so high up in the air that they're like, I can't reach you. They're going to be like, they will bust out N-words and C-words and just literally tell you that they're going to kill you and rape you and all this stuff. Like they'll do it because they're what they're trying to do, because they're not funny. They're trying to make you write their punchline. That's just occurring to me. I'm very proud of myself. Like that's what this trolling thing is.
Yeah.
Is that what trolling is?
So I think the first thing, he uses the word trolls just like he uses the word Nazis.
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't agree with his point of view, then they're trolling him.
Right.
That in his mind, they're actively trying to get a reaction out of him.
Okay.
You know, when somebody, if I put a tweet up or something and somebody comments about how shitty my show is, I don't think that they're trolls. I think that they just think that my show is shitty.
Yeah.
Like,
they
that's
just
their
have an opinion about things, right? Yeah.
I've got to let Doug know this.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But I think
clip 21 is I believe that Dan, if he wanted to, he could be a pretty good troll.
If somebody says they want to rape you and stick your Chinese head on a pike and like fuck your parents,
yeah, those are pretty good jokes. You wrote your own punchlines there, buddy. Good job.
Man, he could write for The Simpsons.
It's only 70% Chinese, by the way. I want to point out.
Oh, okay.
That's what we learned today. 10% Korean. Jessica.
I think I've only got two more clips that I really want to get to.
Okay.
Number 25 is him explaining why he wants equality and why he is a liberal.
This brings up a really provocative, like hypothetical, because here's the reason why I'm liberal. It's because I'm a narcissist and an elitist, and I want equality as soon as possible because I want, before I die, it to be acknowledged that I was the most talented person in the world and had no fucking advantage.
You're really selling me on this liberalism thing, Dan. Yeah. That sounds great. I also want to be praised, and I want to be an elitist. Cool. I'm not sure what that meant. Again, Dan loses me sometimes.
He's a little bit self-serving, I think.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so I think what I heard in that is he wants to pretend that everybody is equal so he can prove to everybody that he is above everybody else.
How does that make sense?
I don't. How does anything that he said make sense?
I want all of you to be equal.
I wish everyone was 6 feet tall, so I'd be the tallest person. Like, wait, what? That doesn't even work that way. That's not how that works. Okay.
And then the last clip, it's really long, and you can play it if you want to. If you want to hear a story about Chevy Chase offering to come in somebody's coffee,
yes,
number 16.
So I'm sure you did the research about how Dan and Chevy Chase had a very famous falling out.
Yes.
Chevy was on his show Community, and he got blasted pretty hard. It turns out Chevy Chase is an asshole. I don't know if everyone knew that or not, but
didn't Harmon get fired from Community as well?
Or yes, I don't know.
Or Rick and Morty, or both.
Not Rick and Morty yet. Justin Roiland did. I don't know about Community. I can't remember. Anyway, whatever.
Allison Brie on Community at the craft service table, season 1. looking for cream to put in her coffee, and another gentleman who I will give his anonymity, famous for his ability to control the room by rubbing people the wrong way and shocking people and all this other stuff, like very knee-jerk responds to Allison Brie looking for cream for her coffee by offering his semen. Allison Brie, without batting an eye, responds affirmatively, says, yeah, get it in there, put it in there. Let's whip it out. Put your cum in there. The aforementioned legend shrinks in a way that I've never seen. Recedes, stops talking about it. No more joking. Now, I want to interject with that. Like, I'm definitely not suggesting this is what you should do, ladies. Like, no fucking way am I saying that.
Okay.
So I don't believe the tail end of that story.
You don't think so? You don't think Chevy Chase was like, oh shit, she called me. She called me out.
Right. So I'm not saying I've heard everything that you said about Chevy Chase, well known for being an asshole.
Yeah.
But even to this day in a fucking office, if somebody says I need cream in my coffee, I raise my hand and volunteer. This is not exclusive behavior to Chevy Chase.
That's true. That's a good point. Also, I just want to say, because I'm a big Howard Stern fan, that Chevy Chase and Howard had an issue for many years, and then they made up, and then Howard got married to Beth O, and Chevy Chase gave a speech at his wedding, and it famously was the most offensive speech ever given at any wedding ever, where he just talked about like having butt sex with Howard and all this crazy shit. And there's families and children and shit like that. Like, Chevy Chase does not give a fuck. He's a problem sometimes.
The problemization of Chevy.
Yeah. He's a problematizing weddings, this guy. You gotta be careful.
With that being said, Chevy Chase being the type of guy that will stand up in front of a group of kids and talk about butt-fucking Howard Stern,
yeah.
Do you believe for a second that he shrunk when she said, whip it out, come in my coffee?
No, I don't. Chevy's been around way too long to not know that could be one of the scenarios that happens when you say that.
He probably just called her a slut and moved on. He didn't even...
Yeah.